I am so excited about today's episode because Ismael is here in the house. Am I saying this name correctly? Ismael.
Ismael, sí. Yes.
Yay. Oh my God, a Cuban. I am like so excited because a lot of you know that I'm very proud Cuban. My mom's from Cuba. And Ismael, you were born in Cuba.
Yeah, I was born in Cuba.
Awesome. And you're in Hialeah now, where my husband's originally from. So that's really cool.
Yeah, with all the Cubans over here in Hialeah.
I love it. And you know what I love too is that I bumped into you on Instagram and your advice, relationship advice. I love. I'm kind of like a firecracker. I'm kind of very in your face. Probably curse probably way too much. I love how you're a lot more like I feel like more refined about it. And I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if we're gonna get along. But I think we are.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, each person, has their own voice. So,
Yes. Yeah. And
you
I
need
and
to.
I loved
Right.
hearing your perspective, the male side of things. I was like, yes, something that I wanted to speak on because I do this too with a lot of the women I work with. The three biggest mistakes that women are making. Okay, there's only one of them that I didn't agree with you, and I want to talk about this. Okay,
Sure.
I 100% agree that people are getting too physical, right?
Hmm.
For sure, too physical. And I say this from experience because I used to do this. I used to lead with the physical. And
Hmm.
that's actually a big rule of mine is to wait a month. And they're like, a month? You're crazy. And I'm like, no, trust. Because if you're finding your person, right, and you're going to live forever and have like, you're going to have lots of years of amazing love making,
Right.
right? So why
Right.
rush into that? And like,
Hmm.
what is your reason for not getting physical with someone so early on?
Well, I would say first of all, if you have a personal rule, in your case, the women that you talk to, if you have a personal rule that you want to wait 1 month, 3 months, you never share it with the other person, right? Because if you say, I like to wait 1 month, then they know, okay, well, all I have to do is just stick around for a month, behave a certain way,
Oh,
and then I can get the candy, right? So I think with getting physical as men, we're very physical, right?
mhm,
We're full of testosterone. We're very
mhm,
physical. We like what we see and we want to
mhm,
have it. So the problem is that when you have things very easy, like you have access to things very easily, you don't put any effort, then you
mhm,
don't value it as much, right? And
mhm.
that's just
Yeah.
human nature. Like if I give you two cars right now and I tell you, hey, this one you'll get it for free, this one you'll have to pay $3,000. You might think about, okay, well, this one $3,000, this one is worth more.
Yeah, yeah.
And you may not even know about the cars, you may not know anything, but you see it. If I'm giving you one for free and one for three, in your mind, you're gonna know this one is worth more because I have to work for this one, right?
Right, right.
So when you
But
get physical too soon,
I
that's what
agree. I
happens a lot
agree.
of times.
I do agree with you, but I do have to ask you this. You said like a guy, if a guy finds out a month, like, oh, I have to wait a month, a guy may play you because wait a second, this is actually something that I didn't really think. Because I kind of believe that everyone is good. My dad always says
Right.
this. I'm too trusting. He's like, you're so naive,
Yeah.
Jackie. So,
Yeah.
and I to a certain extent I am. But I do feel like a guy who's not your person, right? I don't think a guy would stick around a month for just anybody. I feel like a guy, well, I don't know. I just feel like is it possible that men do like would do that?
Well, he's not in his mind. That's what you think. In his mind, he's not sticking around. He might be even talking to five other women, right?
Yes,
And
right.
so he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get a piece
Uh,
from here, another piece from there,
Boom,
right?
boom. Yes. No, no, I love this. And that's another part of my thing, by the way. So important. I feel like don't hook up, like don't have sex until you have that conversation if you're exclusive.
Right.
I just value like, I feel like we don't value our time enough and we don't value our bodies enough. And so I want us to
Definitely
take
agree.
our freaking like time when it comes to sex. And when you are ready, like have that conversation of, are we exclusive? Because I don't want to give this away when you're hooking up with all these other people. How do you feel about
Mhm.
that? Like having that talk before actually having sex?
Yeah, I think, listen, I've changed, I think it varies uh for men and women. This is just, I'm a very traditional man, and I have, like, I think as a man, when I was young, like in my teens, late teens, early 20s, I had a lot of casual sex with women that I
Right.
didn't really care much, but I was
Right.
curious about the experience. My
Right.
testosterone was like spiking,
Yes.
super
Yes.
high. So I did a lot of things for experience. I always treated women kindly, but a lot of the times I didn't want a relationship. I didn't want anything. I was just curious. And I think that happens with a lot of young men.
Yeah.
Now, as I got older,
How old are
I
you now,
realized
Ismael? How old are you?
33, 33.
33. Okay. Okay.
So as I got older, I started realizing a lot of the times, I was kind of like just felt like lonely. I felt
Mhm.
hollow, and I was having all these relationships, casual relationships, and I didn't know that actually that's what was lacking for me. That deep connection, and it is
Yeah.
not to the point that when you have it with somebody
Mhm.
that okay, well, this is what that feels like, that deep
Yes.
connection, intimacy, vulnerable with another person, right?
Yeah.
Once you have that, like you don't want to have anything else,
Yes.
once
That's
you
a
experience that.
emotional connection is like so important. And it's actually hard, sometimes it's harder to be open and vulnerable, especially when you're playing the game like that,
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. But I really have learned the hard way, at least for me. Listen, I celebrated 15 years married to my person, right? I was playing the game since I was 5
Congrats.
years old. Thanks. I was playing the game since I was 5. I was boy crazy,
Mm-hmm.
doing all the things,
Mm-hmm.
playing the game, pretending to be someone I'm not, doing things I shouldn't be doing, anything to get love, trying it wasn't love.
Right.
The best thing in the world was when I was able, like Will was the first person I was able to talk, like it was hours would go by and we just back and forth, that energy. It was like I just met my best friend, like oh my God, where have you, it's like I've known you forever. And we hadn't even kissed. I was like, wait, what? You know? And then you throw a kiss at the end of the night after like 8 hours, 9 hours talking, and it's like, boom, what? This is amazing. um
Yeah.
but I had to learn to wait a second, wear my heart on the sleeve. Now I wanted to ask you about this because one of
Mm-hmm.
your biggest mistakes that you say, and I really want to hear your perspective on this, was like you mentioned not being so open in the beginning. and I,
Right.
and I, that is the complete opposite of what I say. So, which I love because I'm all about being open and growing and like being challenged. I love that, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's how growth happens. So I'm curious. You mentioned this, and I always say to the ladies. And by the way, I work with men too, but mostly women. But I'm like, show up in your life open and vulnerable because that
Mm-hmm.
gives the opportunity for your person to connect and be like, oh my gosh, where have you been? Like, oh my,
Right.
but if you have a wall up or you're guarded, then you're
Mm-hmm.
never going to be able to give that person an opportunity to like actually see you. You may miss your
Right.
chance. So that's
Right.
kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm trusting in the world that no one's going to be like, oh, you're open and vulnerable. Like, I think that's where you may be thinking, but I'll let you tell me what
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, listen, I think you should always be yourself, right?
yeah.
And the problem is that if you fall in the wrong hands, right, being open and vulnerable, they can turn that against you. It's kind of like, people shouldn't steal, but if you leave your house open and you feel safe, I want to leave my house open, my door unlocked,
Mhm.
but, somebody may come in and steal, even though people are not supposed to steal. So
Mhm.
I think you should be open and vulnerable when the man has earned it. That you see, again, you're yourself, you talk about the things that you like, the conversations you enjoy, the subjects, the topics, all those things. But I think
Mhm.
you you know, drip by drip, you start seeing his behavior, if he's consistent, and then you start opening up more and more. I think you
Mhm.
need to see that he earns it. Now, you may win the lottery ticket, and like your case, you may open up, be completely vulnerable, and you fall in the right hands, and that's beautiful and dandy. But from what I see and what happens a lot of the times, you fall in the wrong hands,
Yeah.
and then you end up being jaded and used.
Okay, I hear you saying, but that being said, I will say I have gone out with a lot of guys like that, right? That
Mhm.
will take advantage and be assholes and whatever, do me wrong. A big part of my process is really, instead of saying like I wasted so much time, right? It's about
Right.
reflecting and be like,
Hmm.
shit, like was the writing on the wall? Like,
Hmm.
where could I have found out that red flag that kind of blew up in my face? And a lot of times the red flag was there from day one. And
Hmm.
like I swept it under the rug.
Yeah.
So I'm very much about like, okay, go into life feeling that you could very well meet your person anytime and have your walls down, right? Make
Hmm.
space, ask questions, like real
Hmm.
questions, not surface
Hmm.
level shit, like real, give them an opportunity to connect with you. But like,
Hmm.
because we've all gone through these experiences, like honor like that, those experiences you've had and follow that gut feeling that you get. You're like, shit, run. Like this guy,
Hmm.
this guy is not interested in anything real. Like he's telling you.
Yeah.
A lot of times guys will tell you, oh yeah, I'm no good, I'm an asshole, and they're like, ooh, challenge. Like no.
Yeah.
But I feel like I want, my whole thing is to it's for, I'd rather live and I'd rather give the women and people the advice of saying show up in your life open and vulnerable, but trust that gut feeling, trust,
Yeah.
like ask those fucking questions that get deep. And when
Hmm.
he doesn't like it, when you ask if you ever cheated with someone, if he's ever cheated on his exes, oh, what's up with that? I don't like that question. Bye bye. I'm all about the bye bye. I'm like, okay. A guy that's a really honest guy will tell you like his story and be like, this is my heart. This is what he has nothing to hide. Unless he's like
Yeah.
some crazy ass, like, I don't know, like sociopath, narcissist, which I know that exists. um but there's always signs, you know what I mean? I feel like
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want you to miss, I don't want people to miss out on their person of fear that someone's going to
Hmm.
take advantage of their heart. I'd rather
Yeah.
lead, you know.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the problem has to do with how much experience you have, right?
Hmm.
There's many young women that are very inexperienced that they
Hmm.
may have the gut feeling, but they don't have the awareness to understand what that is. Like they
Yeah.
don't, they're listening to their bodies, their thoughts is telling them something, but they don't know exactly, they don't know how to read the signs. And it may end up being, something, a relationship that lasts 6 months and nothing really happens, but it may end up being having children and a marriage of 15 years. And
Yeah.
I mean, literally the one comment that I get the most in every single video I make is like, I wish I would have seen your video 20 years ago. I wish I would have
Yeah.
seen this video 10 years ago.
Hmm.
So like I said, if you fall in the wrong hands for like 10, 20 years, right?
Yes.
So I think, you should learn about these things. I mean, a lot of the things that I do, it's like people, you learn about how to make money, you learn about business, you learn about like, history or whatever, but it's like, are you making relationships like a fundamental part of your education in your life? Because everything in life is just literally your
Yes.
relationships with other people, especially the romantic relationship, right? And I think probably the three biggest decisions in your life is going to be the partner that you choose to spend your life with. So you
Hmm.
have to make sure that you're choosing somebody that is going to be there in the tough times and is not going to turn, their back on you. And it can
Hmm.
end up being in a very people feeling that very unsatisfied with their lives because they made that wrong choice.
No, I hear you. I told you. And actually, I can't agree with you more when it comes to like investing in your like love, like relationships. People are like now getting the whole life coach thing, which I love. And I've always been to therapy, love it. education people invest in. So I do love the whole aspect of coaching and even like watching our videos. You guys, please make sure to follow Ismael. It's Save the Messenger. I'm going to tag it here underneath the podcast episode and on YouTube, because it's gold. Like it really is. And even
Thank
there's
you.
things that like you say that I'm like, okay, I'm not 100%, but I do get what you're saying and I respect it. And there's a lot of truth in it. I do feel like there's so much to always like be open to growth and
Mm,
learning. Ismael, let
mm.
me ask you. So your love life, where are you now? Are you single, taken? I know that like, there's gonna be some ladies here, especially I have clients in Miami. So you guys watch out.
I'm single. I'm single. Currently single.
Okay. Okay. And actually, on that note, wait a second. People say, oh, I'm not dating. I'm not dating. So I'm not really going to learn about love or relationships.
Mhm.
What is your take on that when someone say, oh, I'm not dating. So I'm really not really interested in like learning about anything when it comes to
Right.
this?
Um, I mean, listen, I'm not dating at this moment, like myself, let's say, for example. And the fact that you're single, let's say the fact that I'm single, like I've had amazing relationships in my life, right? And I had other ones that were not that great. But
Right.
even when and you learn from all of them, and even relationships that ended, a lot of the times relationships end and they have to end on a bad note, let's say, or people end up being enemies. I've ended amazing relationships because, we were in a different path or things didn't work out, right?
Mhm.
And when you say you're not dating, yeah, maybe you're not looking for anything, but I think learning, it's not only romantic relationships, right? Like relationships is just
Yeah.
your connection with another person, right?
Yeah.
You can learn so much about, let's say you're learning about relationships, you learn about your parents, and that teaches you about yourself.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
learn about siblings, your friends, like friendships, because friendship is also foundation with your partner. I mean,
So true.
even when you're not dating, learning these things, it just applies. Think about everything that you do in your life.
Yeah.
Everything is you, your relationship with somebody else, with your parents, with your friends, with your children. So if you don't know how to communicate, how to
Yes.
like sense what somebody's feeling, right? If you don't know your own boundaries, your own beliefs, that's why I say,
Yeah.
like when you were saying before, sometimes I don't agree 100% with everything, and like I don't think what I speak is the gospel. I just
Yeah.
speak from my heart. I speak from my heart. This
Exactly.
is what I believe in. This is what I've seen. This is what I
Yes.
experienced, and it doesn't have to correlate. That's why a lot of the times, actually, when I get questions from people on Instagram, a lot of the times I ask, what country are you from? What's your culture? Are you religious? Because this is
Yeah.
gonna determine,
Yeah.
the advice that I can give you, because it's not gonna apply a lot of the things to you.
I know when I saw that you're Cuban, I was like, shut up. Because, guys, that's a huge part of what's really important to me and like my core, like at my core, it's family, like,
Mhm.
and also that passion in our culture. Oh my gosh. It's like, it's very fiery. It's very all about family and love and celebrating life. And there's something about us, like there's a beauty in Cuban
Mm.
people. Like I'm just so passionate. Now I live in Tenerife, which my grandfather moved to
Wow.
Cuba, but
Mhm.
he grew up in the Canaries. And so I couldn't go to Cuba. So I'm now in Tenerife living here with my parents. I'm so close to them. And I do think that it's so important for when you're finding your person, like just being open. Like you don't have to be dating, but just be open with your heart open, knowing what's really important to you. And like to me, family was key. Like if you're not gonna like
Mm.
my family, or if you're not gonna like my twin sister, this won't work out. Like, I was like, Ismael, I can imagine. Are you really close to your family, and like your person you imagine would have some to get along with your family really well?
Yeah, I mean, my family is like, the foundation of everything. So I always expect anyone that I'm with, of course, and I always love to meet their families. I think
Yes.
family, it's literally the foundation of everything. And actually, a lot of the times when I speak about dating, it's like people forget that dating is pretty much the foundation of building a family, right? They just think of dating as like going and having fun. A lot of people, especially modern and dating apps,
Mm-hmm.
but this can this is supposed to be the precursor of like finding that person to build a family, not just being out there just messing around. And I know sometimes, hey, if you want to go out there, I'm not anyone to judge and have fun, but I hope
Yeah.
that you're one that to lead somewhere, because at the end of the day, I've been there, and if at the end of the day it feels lonely and it feels hollow, and you stop appreciating things, and then it's even harder for you to connect with somebody, because
Mhm.
everything you just see it casual, and like it takes a lot of cleansing
Yes. No, but
to
it's
be
not,
able to
I feel
do
like
that.
so many women are gonna hear you and be like, oh my gosh, this man. No, and this is something that I like, I want to make really clear. I love how intentional you are, because I do think that we sometimes live in a world where everyone's all about the casual, and I love how you're really finding like it's so necessary to have that depth and that intention of like, to
Mm,
you it's important family. And I always am like telling women, and I don't know if you agree with me on this or not, but like sometimes women, they want kids but they're scared to say it. They're scared to say it and they will hide it. I literally bumped into this woman, was dating 2 years, this guy, she's 32 years old, hadn't told him yet that she wanted kids. I was like, wait, what are we doing here? So
yeah,
it's like, I want people to be more fearless
yeah,
about things and to see if you are aligned. Like I think that
yeah.
that word is so important, because it's not
Hmm.
about, oh, I'm gonna just eventually trick him into it or convince him.
Yeah, I
See if
know.
you guys are aligned. That's
It's it's so funny that you say that. I remember like 2 years, probably like 2 years ago, in the middle, right after COVID, I was using dating apps, and I went on a few dates with this Colombian girl, and she was so attractive. I was really into her, and by the third date, she told me that she didn't want to have any kids, and I just found it, in my experience, she was 28. She came from a good family, a stable home. And I was like, why don't you want to have any kids? And she was, no, I just want to do my career. I want to be a dentist. And that was the last time I saw her. I was like, I'm not, if it would have
yeah.
been me 22, I would have been like, oh, I like her. I don't care. I might change her mind. Right there, I didn't feel the alignment. I'm not here to
Yes.
convince anybody. Like for me, having a family is important. So that's it. That was it for me. I was like, well, listen, it was nice meeting you, but I think we want different things, and this is a very important decision. So
I love how transparent, how honest you were and direct. Ladies, I'm serious. Whoever's listening to this, I want you guys to know this, because sometimes like they feel like, oh my God, all guys are assholes. Or there's no guy in my no, I'm like so all about there's amazing men in this world. Stop choosing the ones that don't want what you want. Stop choosing the guys that are
hmm
not aligned with what you want. You know what I mean?
hmm
And
hmm
I promise you they exist. You just have to make space for them. Like,
yeah,
stop trying to make things work with your ex. It's not
yeah,
going to go anywhere. Now, like
yeah.
you're in
Well,
Miami. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ismael. Leave me.
no, just wanted to say real quick, the biggest advice
Yeah.
that I give to anybody that I apply myself, it's like people sometimes lead relationships based on attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm attracted to this person a lot. Now, let me see if they're nice. Let me
Mm-hmm.
see if they have the same values. I've, for a long time, for the past 5 years, I think I stopped doing that. And I was like, okay, I need to find an amazing person
Mm-hmm.
that I think it has a good heart,
Yeah.
like it has like a pure heart, good intentions,
Yes.
not manipulative, not selfish, not egotistical, right?
Yes.
Then I try to see if I get attracted to them. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing advice that I give to them. Find a great man, because they are. I have great friends,
Yeah.
that I look up to, men that I've been married for like 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, try to find a good, great man, and then see, okay, can I get it? And sometimes you
Yes.
won't be able to get attracted to them, and that's okay. But like, like I think the greatest relationships I've had, I was not even looking for a relationship. I just started talking, we became friends, and
Yeah.
slowly by just continuing that contact, I just
Yes.
ended up falling for them, and it developed into a relationship. So
100%. I'm very much about forget your type, like forget it. Like people are like, oh, I like the guy that's tall, blah blah, whatever. No, like take the physical stuff off your list, and it's all about your like actual core, the values, your soul. Like, what is it about that lights you up? Find someone that helps you shine brighter, and like
Mhm.
you do that for each other, you know.
Yeah,
It's not, I like love that we were connected. I want to
me
ask you another
too.
question though before I let you go, just because I do have a lot of clients in Miami. Are there any places that you recommend for, like, I work with a lot of women in their late 20s to like through their 30s, and they're like freaking badasses. They're like very
Mhm.
ambitious, beautiful, all awesome, but they're like probably curious, like, where do you go? Like, I met my husband in Brickell in
Mhm.
what used to be called Transit Lounge, Blackbird Ordinary, now it's called, listening
Mhm.
to a Cuban band, the Spam All Stars. It was amazing. He asked me to dance, and that's it. But like, I love live music, so I was like, God, but I haven't been there in a few years. Ismael, any recommendations? Where should the people be going?
Well, I mean, you need to know what type of man, right? Like, I remember when I was, in my early 20s and stuff, I was like failing in a lot of relationships and trying to have a girlfriend. And it's because I was looking in the wrong places. I was going to the clubs, Blue
Yeah,
Martini, all these things, right? And so,
yeah,
yeah, like those places, if you go clubbing, like Ultra Festival, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if you're gonna find somebody a meaningful relationship there,
yeah.
and the
No,
type of guy that wants to commit. If you
yeah,
like that scene, again, it's not about you know you can like that scene and go in there and having fun.
yeah,
But if you're looking for a serious relationship, I think it can be find the places that you like to go. Is what I say,
yes,
right? Like I like reading, so Barnes and Nobles. You can go
mm-hmm.
if you like reading, if you like going to the gym, if you like
Mm-hmm.
working out. I like the gym. You might find a guy there as a gym rat like you.
Yeah, yeah,
So you need to know what you like and then kind of expand. Also, I feel that a lot of the times, like women, I get so many when I'm talking to somebody that wants to date. It's like, oh, I want to find the guy, and I want to find the guy, and then they don't go anywhere. It's
yeah,
like, do you think he's gonna come knocking at your door? Like, you gotta be out there every weekend, go to new places to have
yeah,
new experiences, because
yeah.
you gotta meet people, and
Mm-hmm.
don't go with the intention of like I say, like don't go with the intention sometimes of dating. What about just meeting men and having conversations with
Yes,
interesting men about different topics, and then see
yes,
you might become an acquaintance and stuff, and then it might lead to something, but don't
mm-hmm.
be because when you come from a place of neediness, like you can, like men, we can sense that when a
Yes,
woman just wants a relationship so bad, and
yeah.
it throws you off because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
why,
Yeah, it's a turn off.
I always feel that.
100%. It's really a turn off. A huge part of what I'm about, and I love that you mentioned this, is about you being self-fulfilled, where you don't need a man, where you don't need a man. The night I met my husband, I wasn't looking. I really wasn't. I was having the time of my life alone, like with my friends. That's it. And I really feel like you have to be in that space. That it's something that the my clients always do. They do that inner work to feel really self-fulfilled. Are they in a job that they love? How are their relationships with their family? Like, have they healed from wounds in the past? Like, when they
Mhm,
feel like, oh my gosh, I am confident in my own skin. I don't need a man to make me feel worthy. Like, I
mhm,
feel my worth. That is when
mhm,
love comes. It's
mhm,
not about you. It's so true. It's such a turn off. It's like when someone like love me, like it is for, and I love from a guy's perspective you saying that. Like, ladies,
mhm.
when you go out there, don't be like on the prowl. Like,
Yeah.
like hunting.
Be subtle about it. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, like, as a man, because men, like, for women, it's a little bit, and you should also be aware if you see a man, love bombing you, of course, but
Yes.
men, we don't get a lot of compliments as a man, right? Like, for a woman to tell you something, unless you're dating or whatever, but suddenly when you see a stranger, a woman, like super into you and hitting on you, that just throws you off. You're like, you don't even know me. Like, why is this woman so into me? Right? Like, you
Yeah.
feel there's something off there as a man in
Yeah.
the connection, and it ends up pushing men away a lot of the times.
I love that. Oh my God, this is all gold advice. Ismail, I think we should do this again. Like, seriously, this is so fun. I'm like,
I
yes,
love to.
yay.
Sure thing.
Thank you for being here and thank you for your gold advice. You guys don't
Of
forget to
course.
follow him and save the messenger. So happy that we did this. I appreciate you. Next time I'm in Miami, we're getting together. Like, that's it. We're gonna like go hang out, read a book, Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Nobles. I thought you were gonna say the gym, but let's take the book to the gym.
The gym. No, let's listen to some live music and come on. Have you heard the Spam All Stars? They're so good. They're so
I've
good.
never heard them, no. But
It's,
yeah, I
it's like
love
a
dancing, you know. You can't be
yeah,
Cuban and not know how to dance, you know.
boom, 100%. That's how my husband made me fall in love. His little dance moves, so cute.
Is he Cuban too? Yeah, I think you
He
said it.
is not. He's not.
Oh,
His
he's not?
grandparents are Puerto Rican, and he grew up in
Boricua.
Hialeah. Yeah, but like what got me, you know what's so funny, his pickup line was hysterical. He's like, well, it wasn't his pickup line, we're just talking, and he's like, oh yeah, I went to MIT. I'm like, MIT. I was like, oh my God, this guy is like a dork. I've never dated a dork. I dated a really smart guy, and I didn't believe him. I was like, no way. I thought he just like making it up, and he showed me his ring, his MIT like beaver ring. I was like, oh, it's so cute. I was like, I don't know,
Damn.
he was different from the other guys because he just seemed like he wasn't trying. He was just being like really authentic. He was funny and just it was so comfortable. You know, I feel like it's so what you're saying. You're not coming off like, oh my God, hitting on someone. It's just, you know, showing up as yourself and seeing if you click and vibe, you know?
Yeah. It just happens naturally. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
As long
Like even when we were saying about like the things of like having a relationship, like sex, asking about children, like when it's a good relationship, all these things just happen naturally. The subjects come up. It's not, you don't have to plan things. Like it just, it
yes.
just happens,
You
you
know
know?
what's crazy is that that night that I met Will, and you should, and I don't know if you know this, but the night I met Will, there's another guy that night that he was like kind of like an ex, and
Okay.
he asked me to dance, and I remember I had a clear method in my head that I learned. I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna waste any more time, not even a minute on the wrong guy. Like that's it. So I
Yeah.
remember
Don't.
specifically saying no. I was like, no. And I walked away, went to the bar and hung out with my friends and looked across the dance floor. A guy was smiling at me and it was Will. And I really feel like it's all these little decisions that are important. Like if I would have been dancing with that other guy, I would have missed out. Do you see what I mean? And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's why I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
don't waste a second looking at your phone for some guy, your ex, to text you. Like, be present and like
Yeah.
emotionally available, you know?
It's it's better to want a relationship that you don't have than to be in one that you want to escape from, right? So yeah,
Yes.
just wait for the right guy rather than spending time in the road. Because I feel some people are afraid of the unknown. That, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be alone. What if I never find anybody? And it's like there's so
Yes.
many people in this world. You're going to find somebody, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
but don't spend your time with the wrong person for sure.
Do you believe in God?
I believe in God, not a specific, I'm more of a spiritual person. I
Spiritual.
don't believe in a specific God, but yeah, I do believe in God as a force, like the universe.
And yeah, that
I
I feel
do.
like the universe is watching out for us. Like I feel like if we were leaning into like the universe, God, whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it, kind of had our backs for real. And like I feel like we might be a little more fearless about like
Mhm.
leaving that. I love what you just said, and I feel like I need to put it in a quote card. I'm gonna like tag you on it. It's better, what did you say? Instead of staying in something you want to escape from. Anyway,
I mean, I might even post it on Instagram today. I just thought
I
about it.
I love it, Ismael. It's all gold. I appreciate you so much. Gracias. Oh my gosh.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll do
I
this
had a lot of fun.
again.
We'll be in touch.
Adios.
Have a good
Bye.
day.